And I believe we have a quorum, but let me just do one quick look to make sure. Yes, we do. We have a quorum.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Metropolitan Washington Air Quality Committee meeting. I'm Tom Doga, Chair for 2025. So to start off with housekeeping, I'd like to ask members to enter your name and affiliation in the chat box. Staff will use this information for attendance. As a reminder, please use the mute button when not speaking, and you're encouraged to use the chat function to share with the members in today's meeting. Also, please note that this meeting is being recorded. At this point, interested members of the public will now be given the opportunity to make brief comments on air quality related issues. Each commenter is limited to 3 minutes. And we have with us today Bill Pugh from the Coalition for Smarter Growth. Bill?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good afternoon, Chair Dronoga and committee members. Thank you for providing the opportunity to speak. I'm the Transportation Climate Director for the Coalition for Smarter Growth. We've been working in the region for 28 years, advocating for transit-friendly, walkable, and inclusive communities. On your agenda today is the air quality analysis of the region's long-range transportation plan, Visualize 2050. Our region, like many, has made significant improvements in air quality. However, a looming threat that could erase those gains is climate change. We have seen code purple air from wildfires. We know the health threats of hot days and flooding, and we can expect more if we don't take action. We appreciate the hard work and expertise of TPB staff in assembling the plan and conducting the modeling. I bring to your attention that unfortunately the Visualize 2050 plan of regional projects and programs would not allow the region to achieve its adopted greenhouse gas reduction goals. You can see in my comment letter in your packet the chart showing the plan's forecast emissions compared to the path needed to achieve COG's 2030 climate plan. These targets are also largely similar to the ones adopted individually by local governments in the region for the most part. TPB did a great study in 2021 that showed that the region must both rapidly adopt electric vehicles and reduce vehicle miles traveled, about 20 to 30% per capita, to achieve the COG greenhouse gas targets. You can see in the letter the scale of VMT reduction needed versus what's forecast in the plan by 2050. There are some really good projects in Visualize 2050, good transit, complete streets, but there's also too much highway and arterial expansion, about 530 new lane miles. We've made some progress from past plans, but we also need to do more. And this is also something that local governments in the region need to contribute on the land use and housing side, putting more housing in walkable, transit-served activity centers and accessibly located neighborhoods and commercial corridors. Again, I appreciate the committee's draft letter that calls out the need for further VMT reduction measures in regional transportation planning. And we also ask that, and this could be something that goes into your letter, that the Visualize 2050 plan be sure to incorporate the performance measures that show what's needed to achieve the region's greenhouse gas targets, both on a total emissions level, but also as far as electric vehicle adoption, what's forecast, and also the per capita light duty vehicle VMT reduction, what's needed versus what's forecast. And lastly, this would also be relevant to COG's mid-course review of its climate plan to be sure that it incorporates the Visualize 2050 results as part of that look at where we're headed. So again, I appreciate the committee's work and appreciate the work of COG and TPB staff and hope we can continue making progress. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to our first formal order of business, which is to approve the meeting summary from the May 2025 meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Kenny Bodie, Prince William County.
Thank
Second.
you. A second?
Yeah. William
Second by
Washburn.
J.D. Spain, Arlington County Board.
Thank you. Any comments or changes before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, the meeting summary is approved. We will now move on to committee reports. First, we have the Technical Advisory Committee, Joe Jakuda, Chair.
Thank you, Chair Denoga. The MWAQC held a meeting on September the 12th, and we discussed the following. First, an ozone season summary. MWAQC received its briefing on ozone season data for the summer to date, and this is also going to be presented to the committee today, so I won't go into much more detail right now. 2015, next we heard about the 2015 ozone NAAQS inventory for the redesignation requests and maintenance plan. The committee discussed the status of the inventories for the two plans for milestone years 2017, 2022, 2032, and 2038, as well as the draft schedule. We did discuss the draft visualized 2050 transportation conformity analysis and comment letter that we recently heard about from Bill in his comments. TPB staff had presented the results of the draft visualized 2050 transportation analysis, and we discussed the comment letter. And both of these were also being presented in the committee today. Next, we heard about the EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program, and COGS contractor briefed the members on the status of the program. And finally, we heard about EPA's proposal to revoke the greenhouse gas endangerment finding, and COGS staff briefed the members on EPA's proposal to revoke the endangerment finding, and this is also being presented to the committee today. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Joseph. Moving on to the Air and Climate Public Advisory Committee, Mr. Washburn.
Yes, thank you, Chair Denoga. I'm Bill Washburn, Chair of ACPAC. And just want to start out by mentioning that we held our last meeting on September 15th, and we covered two main topics. One was the mid-course review of key performance indicators and jurisdictional case studies. And the second was the draft comprehensive climate action plan. And from these two topics, we went on to discuss a number of areas of interest. One, the need to advocate for more grid-connected renewable energy. This is partly in response to the increasing presence of data centers here in our region and their increasing impact on greenhouse gas emissions, and also the possibility of future increases in electricity. We talked about the energy costs that were likely to increase, and we particularly were concerned about data centers that use natural gas turbines because of the greenhouse gas pollution, and also the noise that is presented by the cooling fans used by most of these centers. And there was a consensus that COG should, and its member jurisdictions, should push for battery storage and for on-site renewable energy as a key performance indicator in the mid-course review. The letter, we understand that the letter from COG to EPA has been presented, and we did at our meeting urge COG to include comment about the widespread adverse health impacts of unmonitored and unregulated greenhouse gas on vulnerable populations. I also want to mention at this point, Mr. Pugh talked about transit-oriented development as an important function in our regional transportation planning. And the city of DC did achieve a significant achievement in its agreement with the Commanders football team. The original agreement included parking for up to 12,000 cars and not a penny to be spent on upgrading the Stadium Armory Metro Station, which abuts the RFK redevelopment site. The DC Council passed an agreement that includes up to several $100 million for transportation improvements, including upgrading of the Stadium Armory Metro Station and the possibility somewhere down the line of an additional metro station at Benning Road. So I just want to mention these as an example of what happens when enlightened jurisdiction and engaged community can come together and ensure that the development for this facility is as close to being green as possible. So I will mention that. Finally, next month, CPC Chair Bagley and I will be presenting the winners of the Climate and Energy Leadership Awards at the October 8th COG board meeting. And we invite everyone who can to witness that. And finally, I will conclude that our next meeting is on November the 17th. And that is all I have today. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much, Chair Denoga.
Okay, thanks so much, Bill. Any questions? There's a lot of stuff there. Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to Jen Decimone for Clean Air Partners.
Thank you, Chair Denoga. Clean Air Partners wrapped up their summer campaign with events during Ozone Action Month, which is the month of August. And during that month, they had exhibits in Silver Spring and in Towson, Maryland, where they brought their Eco Bubble exhibit and also their pop-up display to these locations to educate residents on how they can reduce their vehicle emissions. Also in August, in partnership with the City of Alexandria, we held a mini lawn tool exchange program, which was done at the Alexandria Ace Hardware store. And this is where the Alexandria residents could exchange gas lawn equipment for new electric mowers, leaf blowers, and weed trimmers. This year, our full regional lawn tool exchange, which actually originally kicked off during the first week of May, resulted in nearly 500 pieces of equipment being exchanged over a period of 3 weekends. And that was done at 10 participating Ace Hardware stores across the Baltimore, Washington region. And lastly, I want to mention that we have one additional event that will be coming up in October. Clean Air Partners will be participating in Fairfax County's Climate Action Conference, where we will be bringing out our lawn bubble to that event. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, Jeff King for Climate, Energy, and Environmental Policy Committee.
Yes, thank you, Chair Denoga. Good afternoon, everyone. CPC actually met this morning at between 10 and noon. First, they heard from a fellow named Peter Claggett, who's from the U.S. Geological Service in the Chesapeake Bay program, and he presented on the most recent tree canopy data for 2021. This program provides remote sensing and satellite data for the entire Chesapeake Bay watershed. And the results of this work is really central to the work of the Regional Tree Canopy Subcommittee, in part to help track our local and regional tree canopy over time. There are now 3 sets of data, 2014, I think, 2013, 2014, 2017, and 2021. And they'll continue to provide this data for every 3 years. Sadly, interestingly, some of our member counties have some of the highest levels of tree canopy loss in the entire watershed. So we have some work to do on protecting our tree canopy resources. The committee then received a briefing from ICF, a consultant we have on board to help us with the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan. It's very similar to the preliminary climate action plan that was submitted in March 2024. Since that time, they have added a new workforce analysis, which is a requirement for the CCAP. And we've also added a data center measure. Finally, the committee heard from COG staff Maya Davis on the mid-course review that Chair Washburn just was mentioning, and really looking at how we're doing related to meeting our greenhouse goals for 2030. The committee heard the status update on some of the key performance metrics, such as like installed solar systems across the region, as well as heard about several detailed case studies of climate actions across the region. Also, finally, the staff, Robert Christopher, provided an update on a letter sent by the Climate, Energy, Environment Policy Committee, CEPC, on the EPA proposal to repeal the greenhouse gas endangerment finding, which I think is on the agenda later today. So, Chair Denoga, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. And now's the opportunity for both local and state members to share information on their jurisdiction's activities. So first, let's hear from the local jurisdictions. Do any Maryland members have updates that they would like to share with the committee? Very quiet on the Maryland side. Virginia?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Kenny Bodie, Prince William County. Just very quickly, a couple of years ago, our General Assembly passed some authority for localities to look at setting up a tree canopy fund, where essentially if developers are going to be, if they can't preserve certain types of mature trees and what have you, they can contribute towards a fund which would go towards reforestation and helping to build back up canopies in other parts of the county. Again, it's a newer law that we can avail ourselves of as a Dillon Rural state. I gave a directive a couple months ago for us to look into how we would be able to set up such a fund. Work is ongoing there, but just wanted to mention that, especially in light of what was just said a few moments ago. Thank you.
Thanks, that's great. Other Virginia jurisdictions? Okay, hearing nothing additional, let's hear from the activities from our state air agencies. Let's go to the District of Columbia first.
No updates today.
Okay, how about Maryland? No from the Maryland air agencies. Let's
Can we
turn to
circle back?
Virginia. What's
I'm
that?
sorry. It's Mr. Spain out of Arlington. I'm sorry, I was trying to get off.
Okay.
Wanted to jump in for a second. I did have a minor update, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, so heard a little bit of conversation about leaf blowers and noise and ordinance to that level. We are embarking here in Arlington on exploration, speaking with our community about gas powered leaf blowers here and what that may look like down the road, and also perhaps some proposal to prohibit the usage of that in Arlington. So I think we're heading in the right direction, but just wanted to point that out that we have officially embarked upon that, and we'll be doing some community engagement here, similar to what Alexandria just went through. But we're looking forward to see what that yields down the road, hopefully in a really positive way as it relates to the environment. Thank you.
Okay, great. Virginia air agencies, anything?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just one quick note. We, after many years of permitting and planning process, we've now been able to submit a source-specific attainment plan for a southwestern county that had a source that had a SO2 problem, is now remedied it. So we've made a little progress in a different part of the state.
Okay, very good.
Might I jump in from Maryland?
Yes.
Yes, Roger Schlegel from City of Tacoma Park. Just a couple quick reports. We are moving ahead with installation of fleet EV chargers and trying to front end that work so that we can continue to stay on our track for electrifying our whole city fleet. And we also are moving forward with the design phase for our component, our section of the Metropolitan Branch Trail, which is going to be a crucial link coming through from Fort Patton up to Silver Spring. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to item number 4 on the agenda. This is the election of officers that's going to be taking place at the December meeting. So in preparation, today I'm going to appoint volunteers to serve on the nominating committee, whose role is to develop the 2026 slate of officers. The following members have agreed to participate on this important committee: Colin Burrell, District of Columbia, and Shannon Moore, Frederick County. So we also need a member from Virginia. Do we have any volunteers from Virginia to be on the nominating committee? I've done it before. It's not hard, guys.
Are any of the meetings or anything like that in person only?
I think it's like, I'll turn to Jen or Jeff, but it's like one meeting, I think, virtually.
That's correct. It's one meeting, it's virtual, it's about no more than 30 minutes. It's not a big time commitment.
Okay. In that case, I'll volunteer.
Very courageous of you. Was that
Kenny, I
Kenny?
want you to know.
Yeah, this was Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny, we love you from over here in Arlington County, Virginia. Just want you to know, you set a high example for others to emulate.
Appreciate you, JD.
Okay, so the staff will follow up with members in the upcoming weeks to schedule a call to discuss the slate of officers. Okay, moving on to number 5. The next item of business is a discussion for MWAC members on TPB's transportation conformity analysis, which is part of Visualize 2050. And we're first going to hear from Mr. Diabati, if I got that right, sorry, on the results of the conformity analysis. And then Mr. Kumar will discuss the comment letter. After that, MWAC members will have the opportunity for follow-up discussion on the letter before a vote. So now let's hear from Mr. Diabati and Mr. Kumar. We having trouble?
Rob, if you can unmute yourself.
Jen, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, let me go to his office. He's 2 doors down. He can just come in here if something's not working. Wait,
Okay, thank you.
sure. Okay, Rob's computer crashed, but he's right here right now. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can get ours. It's so good. Well, actually, that's me sharing it.
Oh,
It should be on the screen.
Yeah.
Sunil, can you please share the presentation and run it? And
Yeah, I'm sharing
Rob-
it.
Great, thank you.
I apologize, everyone. My computer completely crashed. I couldn't do anything on it. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you for your patience. Today, I would like to go over the draft Visualize 2050 transportation conformity analysis. This is for our approval of Visualize 2050 and the 2026 to 2029 TIP. Next slide, please. I'm going to start off right with the overall headline, the overall highlight of the analysis, and that's that the Visualize 2050 will meet federal air quality conformity requirements. That is that our mobile source VOCs and NOx emissions associated with the plan and the TIP will be below EPA approved or our EPA approved motor vehicle emission budgets. And this is regardless of whether the I-495 Southside Express lanes are constructed. Next slide, please. So after that introduction, let me go through some of the details that that were contained in that. The first thing, of course, is what's Visualize 2050. Well, most everyone knows that that's our long-range transportation plan. It's federally mandated that we do this every 4 years. Our anniversary date from the last time we did a conformity update will be June 2026. What we're doing here supersedes the 2020 update to Visualize 2045, and it basically updates everything. So the financial plan, demographics, modeling tools, and of course all the projects, programs, and policies that are included in the plan. From our perspective, it's important to note that we'll be using the updated 2008 ozone maintenance plan mobile emission budgets. And the conformity analysis was actually completed twice, with and without the I-495 Southside Express lanes. Next slide, please. So just a quick background on the Southside Express lanes. This was included in Visualize 2045 as a study. What it will do will add 2 hot lanes in either direction, maintaining the current number of general purpose lanes. This is going to be between the Springfield interchange and MD 210. What that'll do is it will complete the ring in Virginia so that on the Capital Beltway, so that there are express toll lanes everywhere. There is a transit element involved. There will be express transit route between the Branch Avenue Metro and Tyson's Corner. And the cost is $2 billion with a completion year of 2031. Should be noted that that $2 billion is if the project proceeds. If the project does not proceed, the $2 billion goes away. That money will come from the concessionaire who would eventually be awarded the project. Public comments have been received in great numbers. Would note that it's both been for and against the project. And back in 2024, TPB was undecided on whether to move forward with or without this project. And we're expecting a decision actually in the fall of 2025 and actually next month. Next slide, please. So the planning area is the same as it's always been. Our air quality nonconformity area is the entire TPB planning area plus Culver County over in Maryland. Just to note here on the map, the light blue shows the full extent of the area that our travel demand model covers. We go out a little bit extra further, so it gives us a little bit more resolution of the model within the TPB area itself, which of course is the area we're most concerned about. Next slide, please. The pollutants that we're looking at are for the precursors for ground level ozone. So that's volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides. And our analysis years which we chose based on the federal requirements are 2025, 26, 2030, 40, 45, and 50. Next slide. For the key technical inputs and tools, basically everything's been updated. All of the regionally significant projects that have been included came out of a zero-based budgeting exercise. What that basically meant is we started with a clean sheet and added projects in onto the list. This wasn't a case where we were starting with an existing list and taking projects away, and that was done at the request of the TPB. The data that we're using, or the forecasts for socioeconomic data, is round 10 of the cooperative forecasts. The vehicle registration data we're using for vehicle fleet type is from 2023. We're using Gen 2 version 2.4.6 of the travel demand model. That is our most recent distribution version of the model. And we also used MWAQC 4 when we were calculating emission rates. That was the most current model when we began the analysis. Next slide, please. Normally here we would give you a link to our interactive project map, but unfortunately that isn't up yet. It's probably waiting for a decision to be made on the Southside Express lanes. So what we've done in lieu of that is in the meeting materials, we've provided a list of all of the regionally significant projects that were included in the conformity analysis. Next slide, please. So this is just a visualization of our socioeconomic data, households and employment. Obviously, we're going up as to be expected. The only thing I would note here on these slides is that the employment data is actually adjusted. The employment data is a combination of various sources, some of which define employment a little bit differently. So we have a bunch of adjustment factors we use to make sure that everything's from the same base. Next slide, please. Here's our fleet data. If you look all the way to the far right, you can see that our fleet is increasing in size. That again is to be expected with the increase in households. If you look at the first two collections, the light duty vehicles and the light duty trucks, we see we finally made the flip. In 2020, we were equal parts light duty cars and light duty trucks. With the increase in the number of SUVs out on the road. In 2023, we finally see the flip where the light duty trucks are now outnumbering the light duty cars. Next slide, please. This is just a chart showing the average vehicle age. You can see for the last 3 time periods that there's been a definite increase in the average vehicle age. This actually it could be from a number of factors, including the fact that vehicles are lasting longer and that the cost of new vehicles is forcing people to keep their vehicles longer. This probably affects us a little bit negatively when we're calculating our total emissions. Older vehicles tend to be a little bit higher emitting, and because there's slower turnover in the fleet as people hold on to their older, more polluting vehicles longer, it's a little slower for the newer, cleaner vehicles to rotate into the fleet. Next slide, please. Travel demand modeling assumptions. The model was validated to 2018 conditions. That means we don't have the COVID, the complications that COVID would throw into the data if we were calibrating into another year. Highway tolls are from July of 2024. The vehicle fleet data obviously is from 2023, like we showed before. Transit, the base year transit started with the December 2023 schedules. And from that, we added the new projects that are either, that were either already happening or projects that were included as part of the plan. And the transit fares are current to May of 2024. Next slide, please. Looking at the travel modeling results, again, nothing earth-shattering here. We see that there is a continual increase in vehicle trips and transit trips. We might be seeing a bit of plateauing at the far end. It's kind of minor right now. I would also note that these graphs aren't starting at 0 on the y-axis. If we did, it would probably be a little bit flatter. but it does give you an indication that we are still increasing in trips. Next slide, please. This slide's probably a little bit more telling. This again is showing our increase in daily vehicle miles of travel. If we look here again, we sort of see a bit of a reduction in the rate of increase at the very far end of the graphs. And that might actually be due to what we see on the next slide. So next slide. Yes, what you can see here is that while our population between today and 2050 is increasing by 21%, our vehicle miles of travel are only increasing 15%, and this is resulting in a net decrease per capita of minus 5% in total VMT. So there are more people out there, but they are driving less. Next slide, please. So what were the results of the air quality conformity? Well, as I said before, we performed the analysis twice with and without the Southside Express lanes in there. In both instances, our mobile source emissions for VOC and NOx fell below the EPA approved motor vehicle budget, so we passed conformity in either case. Interesting to note, when we ran the analysis, the total emissions generated both with and without the Southside Express lanes were actually identical to the first decimal place. This isn't to say that there aren't changes happening in the background. It's just that when we did the calculations, the pluses and minuses balanced each other out, and we ended up with exactly the same results. Next slide, please. So this just illustrates the trend in total emissions and how we are falling below the budgets. This is for volatile organic compounds. As you can see from here, we're slowly decreasing over time. We obviously are falling below the budget, so we are passing conformity, and we see a bit of a trailing off as far as the amount of emissions decreasing. This is due to the fact that there are fewer new vehicle emission standards in future years that are coded as part of the MOVES model. So it just goes with the things that are already we're basically that we are passing conformity and we are slowly decreasing in total emissions. Next slide, please. What we can see here on this slide is for nitrous oxides or nitrogen oxides. Again, what we're seeing is that the total emissions fall below the budgets, and they're also slowly tapering off as we go into the future. Part of the reason we see a bit of a tapering off here is that a lot of the NOx emissions are from heavy duty vehicles, and these don't have as many vehicle standards improvements associated with them going into the future. But again, we are seeing an overall decrease as we go forward. Next slide, please. So the conformity findings are, as we said before, we are falling below the mobile budgets in both cases, so we are passing conformity. Next slide, please. This slide I've provided just as a reference for the group. This basically summarizes all of the technical tools and assumptions that were used in the conformity analysis. We discussed most of this in the previous slides, but this is just a convenient place where everything is all together in one place and can be reviewed. So that's available to everyone who's downloaded the slides. Next slide, please. So what are our next steps? Obviously, we have our meeting today on October 15th. The board will move forward either with or without the SEL. So we'll finally have a decision on that project. And then about a week later, we start the public comment period. We're able to do that quickly because we have done the analysis twice, so we have the numbers in hand. On November 19th, we'll be presenting to TPB, including any of the comments and responses to date. And on November 21st, the public comment period closes. And December 17th is the big day. We'll be coming back to the TPB with any final comments at the end that came at the end of the comment period. And we'll be asking for approval of the conformity analysis, Visualize 2050, and the 2026 to 2029 TIP. Next slide. We will be providing a draft version of the conformity documentation for the comment period. This will have a couple of placeholders for things we obviously can't fill in. Obviously, we can't put in the comments before the comment period, and one of the things we include is the resolution approving the conformity analysis. And again, until that's approved, we can't throw that in. We have a couple of small changes that will appear in the appendices, but overall, the conformity document is relatively complete at this point. Next slide. And with that, I will take any questions.
Questions, or should we wait for the letter to review the letter? Mr. Kumar, are you going to go over the letter?
I can do the letter.
Okay, let's do that, and then we'll take questions on both.
Can you all see the letter on the screen?
It's there.
Yeah, we see it.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to summarize our comment letter that will be sent to TPV once the comment period starts. However, we don't have any MWAQC meeting scheduled, before the comment period closes. So we're requesting that the committee review and approve this comment letter with understanding that if there is any need for any minor update following TPP's decision to adopt with or without I-495 SCL option, they will maybe MWAQC Security Committee may make some changes to this text as needed and send it to TPP. We're not expecting, as you heard already from Rob, that the selection of that option for 495 is not going to affect the overall results. So this letter, the content in this letter is pretty much, we hope to remain, it will be valid, and hopefully there won't be any major changes needed. So with that, I'm going to summarize this letter here. So this is kind of letter that the MWAC always sends to TPB following the request for public comment on their conformity analysis. So their official public comment will start on October 23rd, but TPB staff has been already provided us the kind of draft report, and based on that, we have developed this letter. So with that, let me go straight into the letter. The MWAC thanks the TPB on providing this opportunity to comment on the Visualize 2050 Transportation Conformity Plan. And MWAC concurs with the analysis and the conclusion that the proposed mobile budgets is associated with that's in the 2008 Ozone Standard Maintenance Plan update. So MWAC concurs with those budgets and the transportation emissions that's associated with those budgets. Second paragraph, however, MWAC raises a point about the use of safety margin or transportation buffers. They are also called transportation buffers. Sometimes they're called safety margins to demonstrate conformity and to meet the motor vehicle emission budget just for VOC or volatile organic compounds in year 2025 and 2030. The safety margin were not needed for NOx for any year. However, they were needed for VOC in 2025 and 2030 to meet the budgets. So therefore, MWAC urges TPB to continue its primary particular focus on projects that would reduce air pollution emissions from the transportation sectors, so the future emissions from that sector remain below the motor vehicle emission budgets without safety margins to fully protect the health of our residents. The third paragraph, it describes the design valued data for the region, which is 69 parts per billion for the current ozone standard, and is based on the 2023 to 2025 period. So that's the latest data we have in draft form as of now, which shows that the region is in compliance with the 2015 ozone standard, which is 70 parts per billion. So we are in complying with the standard based on the draft data. So the MWAC kind of cautions that the region needs to continue reducing its emissions to maintain this compliance in the future. The region submitted a maintenance plan update for 2008 standard to EPA in 2023. We showed that the 2025 emissions in this region, one of the biggest significant contributors, almost 26% of the total NOx emissions came from the transportation sector in that plan, which shows a significant contribution. Therefore, MWAQC stresses that it is essential that the region reduces emissions further in order to keep complying with the 2015 ozone standard from all sources, including on-road mobile sources. And finally, MWAC notes that the region is experiencing an increase in total VMT along with an increase in population and job growth. Therefore, it urges the EPB to continue its investment in VMT emission reduction strategies such as public transit, ride sharing, pedestrian and bike infrastructure, and other travel demand management strategies and terms and emissions reduction measures or terms to reduce further future growth in vehicle emissions. And finally, MWAC just thanks again the TPB to provide a comment on the draft conformity analysis. That's all I have. Any questions?
Folks, questions, comments?
I had a quick comment, which is many of you are probably aware of the publicity around emerging research that shows a strong correlation or causality between air pollution exposure and Parkinson's disease. And so I wonder whether going forward it might be good for this committee to consider adding such reference to expand awareness when referencing fully protecting the health of our residents.
Interesting. I did not hear that previously. Sunil, any thoughts on those types of references in this or future letters?
We can include those kind of as a brief reference to those kind of study in our introduction to this letter, very beginning of this letter, maybe, if you all agree. Traditionally we haven't done that. I mean, those kind of introductory stuff have been, they are presented to MWAC in different meetings on and such. When there were requests on kind of providing details on such kind of studies, but we haven't done traditionally for transportation conformity, but we could do, certainly can add a sentence or two.
Any other thoughts on that from committee members?
Yeah, Dave Snyder. I'm not entirely sure we are familiar enough with the research to justify it being in this letter, but it certainly is something we ought to pursue in the future. Thanks.
And this is
go ahead, Tom.
This is Tom Ballou from Virginia DEQ. I just kind of say that it's usually our normal practice to reference health impacts when they've been identified through an EPA process of setting a standard, things like that, where there's a little more evidence. I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying that there's usually a critical mass at which point it's pointed out formally in an EPA action.
Understood. Maybe we should add health as a topic to an upcoming agenda. Jeff or Jen?
Yes, we can take a look at that and see if we can get any speakers to come in.
Okay, that might be very helpful. I've got two questions. One, Bill Pugh from the coalition sent a letter in. He spoke earlier. I thought he had a recommendation that he wanted to add, but I couldn't figure out from the letter what specifically he was looking for. Has something already been included from Bill's comments in the letter?
I believe his letter was talking about climate change effect and how that will have quality and stuff. So again, it's similar to the request for including health impacts in the letter. We haven't done that kind of thing. It's just basically the letter just comment letter for TPB just focuses on the mobile budgets and whether it's complying with the budgets or not, or there are any concerns regarding the use of safety margin and need for continued, need for continued focus on emission reduction strategies and BMD reduction strategies, those kind of things. And this
Bill has added something in the chat. I can't find where to read the chat.
Oh, Chairman Denoga, it was just to echo support for your idea of ensuring that the health connection, Parkinson's disease, is something that could be taken up at a future meeting.
Right. That's Bill Washburn. I caught that, but Bill Pugh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The other Bill.
All right. Yeah.
Actually, his reference is kind of where I was going with my second question about light duty trucks. Is there any impact or potential upcoming impact from federal changes on the expectation for, or not an expectation, requirements for modernizing fleets? It seems like they're taking a step back and they're pushing back on the California rules. I think that flows through to Maryland and other states. So I'm just wondering if in the analysis that's been done, we've taken into account these potential federal changes, or if we haven't, is that going to have an effect after we approve this?
This particular analysis is, based on the data that has already been provided by state agencies, and therefore they don't include any of those proposed rules. If any of those vehicle emission rules get repealed, the MOOS model that was used for this conformity analysis and will be used, some other versions will be used in future analysis, they will have to include those, exclude those rules from the model. And at that point, we will be able to calculate our emissions and then see whether they meet the budgets or not. At this point, there hasn't been any repeal. There was some letters, maybe one or two rules have been proposed at this point, but not all the rules. And certainly they have to be first approved, finalized, and then model has to be modified. The model has to be upgraded to include the exclusion of those rules. So even though the rules are, if they're repealed, we won't be able to right away model them because of the way they hard coded inside the model, unless EPA has upgrades those models with those rule repeal. We won't be able to. We will have to wait to basically redo any calculation.
Okay, I'm looking at Bill Pugh's comment. The fourth paragraph, it talks about urging TPB's continued investment in VMT and emission reduction strategies. Does that cover Bill's comment, or should we think about adding that in with that same paragraph? I see Lynn Erickson's comment. Well, I've raised the question, and it seems like we're good with the letter as is, unless somebody else has something. Any other questions or comments? If everyone's satisfied with the letter as is, can we get a motion to approve?
So moved, Snyder.
And a second?
Second, Kenny Bodie.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Now, Mr. Chairman, Dave Snyder, just to say that you raised the questions that the Coalition for Smarter Growth raised. I would have done the same thing. It looks like from COG staff, we really can't address it in the letter. So I'm fine to go forward with the letter. And I'm wondering if the letter shouldn't be signed by the, not only by the chair, you, sir, but the Virginia and the other co-chairs. Just a question.
I'm certainly open to that. I'm not sure what the standard practice is. I'm guessing it's normally the chair, but I have no problem with the full executive committee signatures. That's a Jeff or Jen question.
Yeah, standard practice has been just signed by the chair, but there's nothing that says that it can't be, we can't add the vice chairs to it.
I would say I'm fine with adding everybody. And if that's okay, unless there's any objection, all those in favor of the motion to approve the letter, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Any abstentions? The letter is approved. Thank you all. So now, as we're coming to the end of the ozone season, we'll hear an update from Sunil on the summer's ozone season. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me share the screen. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the air quality data that we observed this season, this summer season. So I'm starting with the ozone, and what you're looking at is a number of tables that shows the highest 8-hour average ozone levels in parts per billion from March 1st through September 15th. So this covers pretty much the entire summer and the ozone season, as they are called, because that's when the ozone is at the highest levels during the entire year. So you can see there are most of the days their quality was green, a few yellows, and 5 code orange, or they were in accidents. So as you can see, the accidents occurred in June and July, in 11th and 12th in June, and 11th, 12th, and 26th in June, and July 11 on July 29. So those are the 5 days when the ozone standard was exceeded. And again, see, most of the days we had green, so it looks like I mean, the air quality has been relatively good this season, which is also evident from this particular slide, which shows the trend in the ozone standard exceedances. And as you can see here, data goes back to 1997, and we have listed not only the number of ozone exceedance days, which is listed at the top of these bars for different years, but we have also broken down those exceedances by color codes from orange to red to purple. And as you can see, overall pretty nice downward trend from late 90s to early 2000s to until 2013, 2014 time frame. And since then, it has been there has been some the numbers have been still very low compared, if you look compared to 2012 before, but there are yearly variations after that, and one of them main reason is the variation in the meteorology or the weather. So as you can see here, in 2024, we had 7 incidences, and now this year we had just 5. So we are maintaining the relatively low number of ozone accidents days in recent years. 2025 data is preliminary, but as you can see, the overall conclusion is that we have been able to reduce the number of ozone accident days to a large extent now. This is another chart we show to show the relationship between the ozone and temperature, which is one of the major factors in high ozone levels. So whenever the temperature hits 90 degree and above, there is a pretty good chance of the area going into accidents. But that seemed to be more in the case in before 2009 period. You can see the numbers, so the lines shown in the purple shows the accident days for ozone standard. The line in the red line shows the number of 90 degree and above days. And so you can see there were quite a few days when ozone standard was exceeded before 2009. However, that relationship is kind of completely flipped. Now you're seeing a lot less number of ozone accident days compared to the number of 90 degree and above days. And the gap seems to be almost increasing. So which tells us that even with the high number of 90 degrees of days, we are seeing relatively low number of ozone accidents days. And that has become possible because of the emissions that have been declining over the years, and that resulted in fewer and fewer number of ozone accidents days. Now this is also there's an important slide here which shows the design value, which is based on 3-year year average worth of air quality data. So this case is showing the ozone data and design values, and you can see the study period is between 97 through 99, and until this year, which is still a draft number. You can see overall pretty nice downward trend until 2013, 2015, when we hit the 70 ppb first, right at the current ozone standard. Since then, we have been kind of hovering around that number. But if you look at the last two numbers, last year 2024, which is a quality assured EPA published design values, is 69 ppb. And this year, based on the draft numbers that COC calculated, we also hit the same number, 69 ppb, which shows that we are in attainment of the standard. EPA has already published a clean data determination for this region because we're meeting the standard now, and which makes us eligible for submission of the request to redesignate the area into attainment or maintenance. And of course, we'll have to submit a maintenance plan. And so as a result, the region is working on that, preparing that request to redesignate the area back into attainment or maintenance for the 2015 ozone standard. And we will also be working on the maintenance plan. So these two plans are being developed right now. So the reason why we have fewer ozone accidents days is because we implemented a number of emission control programs at the federal, state, and local levels. And these are, this table shows just a few examples of those control programs. For example, at federal level, we had Tier 2 emission rules, heavy-duty diesel vehicle law, NOx SIP call, which is interstate ozone transport control rules. State level, we have vehicle inspection and maintenance programs implemented by the state agencies. We have Maryland Healthy Air Act, OTC, Ozone Transport Commission rules, and locals have done our own bit to implement through the implementation of renewable energy programs such as regional wind purchase program, renewable portfolio, clean energy. We have area idling reduction, low VOC paint, gas can replacement. So all these programs have together resulted in the better ozone levels or lower ozone levels we are witnessing in last few years. So moving on to the PM 2.5 or particulate matter or fine particles, as they are called in general language. And so we are seeing the same table from March 1st to 15 September. And the numbers are in microgram per cubic meter. That's the unit for PM 2.5. As you can see, lots of green, a few yellows, and we did have two code red on July 4th and 5th, but that's what expected given all the fireworks on the July 4th, which started late at night, in a late in evening, and the effect because of the meteorology, stagnant wind, high pressure condition, all the fine particles that were coming out of the fireworks did not have a chance to disperse quickly, and they some of the very high levels, as you can see, they pretty much stayed into the early hours of July 5th. And since we are talking about 24-hour average, as a result, we also saw increased, higher than normal PM 2.5 levels on July 5th. So both July 4th and 5th, we had code red levels because of those fireworks. But otherwise, if you look at that, we have just begin either green or moderate. And also, this is based on the new the PM 2.5 standard of 9 microgram per cubic meter that was implemented in 24. So even with the tighter standard, we are not seeing any usual accidents we used to see years ago. So talking about the accidents of PM 2.5, here again, just similar to ozone, we are showing this going back to 1999 and up till this year. And as you can see here, pretty nice sharp drop between 99 and 2010 and period. And after that, there are quite a few years actually we didn't have any accidents. And whenever those accidents happened after that, most of it was only related to the fireworks on July 4th and its lingering effect on July 5th. 2023 was kind of exceptional with the the wildfires from Canada. They came our way and brought lots of PM 2.5 or its precursors. As a result, we had 5 code orange, 2 code red, or even 1 code purple. We didn't see this in 2024. We didn't see this effect of wildfires this year much. So we just handed out 2. We didn't have any in 2024. So barring those organized fireworks on July 4th or any wildfires coming from outside the country or region, the local emissions don't seem to cause any accidents, either code orange or red. So that's good. So this is a design value. Again, this is also based on 3-year worth of air quality data for PM 2.5. This is an annual PM 2.5 design value. Which standard is 9 microgram per cubic meter I just talked about, which was published last year. And as you can see, similar to ozone, design value have been going down until 2014, 2016, and then kind of temporarily moved up, and then again is down in recent years. Right now, based on the quality soar 2022 through 2024 year, we had a design value 8.1, which is the lowest so far in this period. So that's much below the 9 microgram per cubic meter level where the standard is currently set at. So again, a very good progress in air quality in terms of annual PM 2.5 standard. For 24-hour PM 2.5, there's another daily PM 2.5 standard too, which is set at 35 microgram per cubic meter, published in 2006. Similar to that, we saw a nice drop from late 90s until 2016, 2018 period. And this kind of after 2014, you can see is kind of varying between 20 and 2022. So that's pretty much stable now. And the important thing is that is well below the current ozone, current below the 24-hour PM 2.5 standard of 35 micrograms. So we have an attainment of all these standards for a while now. So I'm going to show you the slide which shows the AQI values, which is includes both ozone and PM 2.5 in 2025. This is another way to look at the data. As you can see here, we have this showing air quality or AQI value in different color code ranges. You can see most of the ozone and PM 2.5 levels were in the good range. Quite a few in actually moderate. Very few in code orange, and just 2 in code red owing to the July 4th when in effect and fireworks. So As you can see here, so most of the air quality, most of the ozone and PM2.5 levels these days, they fall into good or moderate. Just a few in code orange and rarely into code red range. Another way to look at the AQI value trend, we are looking at the historical data here. You see very faint white area in the graph that shows the 24-hour high and low covers period between 2000 and 2023. Then you have a gray line, thick line, which shows 5-year average from 2019 through 2023, and then dark blue line, which is the recent 2025 data. As you can see, compared to the 5-year or 24-year average, the current data is actually overall runs below those levels. So this shows continued improvement in air quality when we include both ozone and PM2.5 in terms of AQI. So again, the progress continues. And that's all I had for this presentation. I will be happy to take any questions.
Questions, folks? Okay, thanks, Sunil. Excellent as always. So moving on to our final item, we have Jeff King and Robert Christopher to give us an update on the EPA proposal to revoke the endangerment finding, which, if revoked, would mean that the EPA would no longer have the authority to regulate greenhouse gases from vehicles and stationary sources. Who's up first? Is it Jeff? Or Robert?
Yeah, thanks. I'll just say a couple words, and Robert, you're on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys may recall this is the endangerment finding is something that happened back in, I think, 2009, and it was a result of a Supreme Court ruling that kind of pushed EPA, and ultimately they had to make a determination, and they made a determination that greenhouse gases endanger public health. And then once that endangerment finding happened, that gave them the regulatory authority under the Clean Air Act to regulate certain aspects of greenhouse gases, including power plants and on-road motor vehicles. And so, the Trump administration clearly has not been shy about letting folks know that they intend to, take action to kind of put the dagger in the heart of the climate change religion. So this is not unexpected. I doubt there's much we can do about it, given what we're seeing out of the White House and EPA, but figured you probably should be aware of what is about to transpire. And so Robert's going to walk you through that. Thanks.
Yes, thanks, Jeff. So yeah, I'm going to cover what the finding is, what the repeal proposal from EPA it says, and why it matters for our region's air quality and climate goals. Next slide, please. So the 2009 endangerment finding determined that 6 greenhouse gases endanger public health and welfare under the Clean Air Act, Section 202A of the Act, and that determination is what triggered EPA's duty to regulate. It followed Massachusetts versus EPA from 2007, where the Supreme Court recognized greenhouse gases as air pollutants and required EPA to decide, based on science, whether they endanger health and welfare. And since 2009, federal courts have repeatedly upheld the determination EPA made, which uses this authority flowing from the finding to reinforce its role as the legal backbone of all climate-related rules since that time. So today's proposed repeal that is not a minor tweak. It challenges the legal basis for a wide set of federal greenhouse gas standards. Next slide, please. As I said, the founding is the foundation, or the finding, sorry, is the foundation for federal greenhouse gas standards across multiple sectors. And it underpins vehicle standards for light, medium, and heavy-duty fleets, as well as greenhouse gas rules for power plants and some other industrial sources. Beyond compliance, these frameworks have delivered climate mitigation, air quality improvements, and public health benefits that our regional planning relies on. Removing the finding would create uncertainty for states, MPOs, and industry. Next slide, please. On July 29th of this year, the EPA announced that a proposal to repeal the endangerment finding. And their rationale was that based on a narrower Clean Air Act interpretation that discounts global impacts and relies on the major questions doctrine and claims that the scientific record is outdated or flawed. If finalized, EPA would lose Section 202A authority to set vehicle greenhouse gas standards, as well as several stationary source rules that could be weakened or invalidated. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. EPA's claimed benefits are roughly $54 billion per year in reduced compliance costs for automakers, energy producers, and other industrial sectors. And they argue that repeal would boost domestic energy production, lower fuel and electricity costs, and improve competitiveness. Next slide, please. Opponents of the repeal argue that those are short-term savings which would be outweighed by long-term climate damages, such as more severe weather, flooding, heat risk, and associated recovery costs, as well as public health impacts, including higher respiratory and cardiovascular disease burdens, with healthcare costs and productivity losses that would exceed the compliance savings. And repeal, as I've said before, would inject regulatory uncertainty into planning timelines for states, localities, and industry. Next slide, please. Okay, with the finding in place, EPA's authority has affirmed that and repeal would eliminate vehicle greenhouse gas authority and complicate stationary source pathways. Impacts to climate policy. With the finding in place, national targets have a stable federal backbone, and repeal would devolve responsibility to states and voluntary measures, reducing national consistency and creating a patchwork of regulatory rules across the nation. Economically speaking, with the finding in place, compliance costs are generally offset by avoided health and climate damages. The repeal highlights $54 billion in savings, but external damage costs are likely to grow over time. The bottom line is, without a federal floor, regional planning becomes harder and costlier. Next slide, please. Additional impacts to public health. With the finding repealed, we would see increased illness and mortality, as due to higher exposure to pollution and climate hazards, especially for vulnerable communities. As I said before, state and federal dynamics would change as there would no longer be a federal baseline. Fragmentation would create an uneven playing field for businesses and shift the burden to states and locals. And also, with the finding in place, we maintain U.S. credibility in global climate cooperation, and without it, it can impact trade or diplomatic frictions tied to climate policy. Next slide, please. The implications are that federal repeal would increase emissions and shift burdens to state and localities to find replacement reductions. And for our region, that means tougher, potentially costlier local measures to stay on track toward our goals. Next slide, please. There are also transportation implications, as transportation is one of the largest U.S. Greenhouse gas sources, and federal vehicle standards have been critical to long-run fleet turnover and electrification. And without them, as stated before, states would need to scale their own regulatory or voluntary programs, leading to uneven adoption and potential backsliding inefficiency and electric vehicle uptake. Next slide, please. Larger regional implications with the finding repealed, it would make it harder for us to meet our 2030 and 2050 greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets. And that could mean higher local costs, more complex rulemaking, and compressed implementation timelines. Next slide, please. CPC's position is in opposition to the repeal, and public comment period on this closed on Monday, and the CPC Legislative Subcommittee approved a letter opposing the repeal, and that was sent prior to the closing of the comment period. Next slide, please. If repeal were to occur, there are a couple things that could happen, which could include Congress codifying greenhouse gas emissions as a pollutant under the Clean Air Act, which could be resolved through that. But seems unlikely given that the House, Senate, and presidency are all opposed to this at this point, with the majority party. And this would also require more state innovation, and funding could change. These steps could mitigate legal gaps and reduce uncertainty for planners and industry. Next slide, please. The bottom line is we think the endangerment finding is legally sound, scientifically supported, and critical to public health, as well as meeting regional goals, and that repeal would undermine federal leadership, introduce economic uncertainty, and damage our pathway to regional climate goals. Next slide, please. That's all we have. Thank you.
Okay, very comprehensive. Thank you. Questions? No one? Kristen, are you trying to speak?
No, sorry. I was not intending to unmute. My apologies.
Okay. I'm curious how the major questions doctrine supports this, considering that the Supreme Court already ruled on it in 2007. I know the major questions doctrine is a new invention of the Supreme Court. So I guess they're looking at the Supreme Court to overrule its previous decision and apply the major questions doctrine at this time. Is that kind of how they're arguing this?
And so I think that's my understanding of the way I read things. Yes, I couldn't say 100% for sure, but I think that's the rationale. Yes.
But that would require this to get up to the Supreme Court for the court to overrule itself. So I'm not sure the vehicle in which I guess they can make a regulatory finding and then wait for people to sue them and then argue that, okay. It seems like the question's already been asked and answered, but I guess that doesn't stop them. So no further questions on
Yes.
Joseph Chikrin in DC has one question.
Sure.
So I recall that when they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, there was some language added about greenhouse gases when that was passed, and I was wondering how that impacts this, or was that repealed with that more recent act, that the One Big Beautiful Act?
I do not know if that was repealed in the Big Beautiful Bill or however it ended up being named. So I can't say.
But would the fact that if that still exists, would that impact their ability to get rid of the endangerment finding if there's clear definitions of greenhouse gases?
Yeah, I think we need to look into that, Joseph.
Okay.
Be happy to do that and get back to you.
Let me say something on that.
Okay.
This is Bill Washburn. Bill Washburn. Okay. Number one, the Clean Energy Act has not been repealed by Congress. Okay. The findings with regards to these greenhouse gases remains codified until new congressional legislation repeals it. So, EPA, of course, EPA can do the kind of institutional undermining by refusing to enforce previously established greenhouse gas standards, but it cannot be repealed by executive order. And it's, that's just a process that is going to have to be gone through to get to that point. And my point is this: we know what we're facing. We know we have a Supreme Court that is not a friend of constitutional rights unless you make $1 billion or more a year. And what we can do, I think, is just prepare to batten down the hatches and refrain from obeying in advance. And that's my statement.
Thank you, Bill.
This time it was intentional. I thought of something, Tom, after that.
Sure. Go.
Yeah, so something that there's a webinar that came across through my day job. The Association for the Advancement of Participatory Sciences, AAPS, is holding a lunch and learn next week. The title of which is "Can States Ban Use of Community Monitoring Data?" And so I think this is something we also might think about being aware of is if there are changes with the EPA, there are a lot of, sort of the small sensors, the different air quality sensors and things that could be a way to fill in some of those gaps if the EPA, I mean, they don't have the same authority, but at least monitoring. But there's some risks to that being disallowed at the state level. So that's just something to pay attention to going forward. And that's, this webinar happens to be next Tuesday, and it's the Association for the Advancement of Participatory Sciences. That used to be the Citizen Science Association that's holding that.
Sounds like a First Amendment issue to ban people from taking measurements.
Well, there's all sorts of interesting questions related to that, though, isn't there? And it's I plan to attend the webinar, so maybe I can report back later.
From the same people who advocate the idea that if you make taking measurements illegal, the problem will go away. But we've been down that path before.
And we're heading down it again. Well, I see it's getting on 2 o'clock, our closing time. Unless there's anything else, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thanks, Bill. I'll second it. And unless there's any objection, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.